Okay,
I've never been on here. I've watched her many times.
Okay, so here we are
In her bedroom.
Yeah.
Here she is, scoot in. So these are some of the party. We're having a party with a bunch of other people that are too chicken to come on. But these are the courageous ones. It's a fact. So we're going to talk about the old days because we've been talking about it of some of the very funny stories. This is, say your name.
Sandy Kent.
Sandy Kent.
Skip Press.
Skip Press.
Lynn Campbell.
There you go. Magoo. All right. So, and there's a couple other people in the peanut gallery, but they're just hanging.
I'm actually in the peanut gallery.
She's in the peanut gallery. All right. So that's cool. So anyway, where should we start?
Fun times at the old Celebrity Center.
Right.
When Scientology used to be fun, before the idiots took over.
Exactly. And we knew each other back then. We were all at Celebrity Center. It was fun. You were a supervisor. I helped you out with Travolta. You know, it was like he got Welcome Back Kotter then. Remember how Yvonne would always put all the...
Yeah. And then Travolta would show up, remember, with Gilda?
Right.
And show up at the graduation ceremonies on Friday night, driving a car.
Right.
You know, it was like, you know, he was Barbarino. And Barbarino the big TV star shows up at Celebrity Center on Friday night. Everybody's going crazy, you know. And the staff members didn't know who Barbarino was because we didn't even have television. We just thought John Travolta was funny. You know?
I remember he came on a motorcycle. With
It was fun back then.
Right. You know, it started from my course room. I don't know
Your
it started
course room
actually from my
That's
course room
right.
because I used to do skits a lot and improv up in Marin County and all through high school and when I was a kid. And so we started doing skits in the course room, and Hector was part of it, who's in the other room right now. And then it expanded into the Opera by Duke Players.
Right.
Which explain what that is.
Gelda Midoff. Well, we had 11 supervisors in Department 11, and everyone had a course admin and word clearer back then.
Right.
These are all Scientology terms none of you understand.
None of you understand, but it was all stuff we were into it. It was like so cool. Remember how fun it was then?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, we had a good time. It was like a giant party all the time.
It
was very exciting.
It was hippie times without the drugs.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, all my students were pretty much entertainers or musicians or actresses,
artists.
And so we had so much fun.
Right.
And Travolta used to, you know, when he came on, I was his first supervisor because he went on to HQS originally, which was the Hubbard Qualified Scientologist course, not the HAS, Hubbard Apprentice Scientologist.
Yeah.
And, I remember one day, like on a Sunday, you weren't allowed to leave the students by themselves, and I had to go down the hall for just a moment. And I remember John was the only student, John Travolta was the only student I had, and I heard him talking to somebody, and oh my God, who's interrupting him? I'm going to get in so much shit, and I'm running back down the hall to find out who is he talking to. Right. And I walked in, and he had all my big stuffed animals and such lined up. And he was pretending to coach them on their communication drills. Right. And then he went over to the table and said, no, you're falling asleep. You look up your word. And he was talking to them like they were real people. He was the only one in there, but it sounded like he was having a whole conversation. Right. So it was very fun drills.
Yeah.
I twinned him up with a girl named Rosa, I remember. And she was the manager of the Whiskey A Go-Go on Sunset Strip. Yeah. Back then it was called the Whiskey A Go-Go. Now it's just called
a lot of cool people came through those doors.
Yeah, back in the old days. Yeah. It was a fun time. And so we were talking about it tonight because all the guys that were there, you know, there were a lot of different. I can't even remember all this stuff we were.
Well, there was a girl who was in. I think she was in Easy Rider, dark-haired Greek, Elena Kalianotis or something.
Right.
And she had a big. It was in Echo Park or someplace. She had a club restaurant, which was the hip place to hang out, you know. Right. And Yvonne Gentry ran Celebrity Center and knew her. And so there was sort of this other group of Celebrity Center attendees, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a staff member who would get to go and meet all these cool places and everything. So it was starting to become a hip place to hang out and meet people.
Right.
You know, the sort of weird, you know.
That's right. You
edge
were right.
of Hollywood. Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
you definitely were in on that.
Yeah, and I was in. There was people with plays were put on there.
Yeah, I remember.
I was in a play, and
remember when Heber came in?
Yeah, Heber was
like old G had long hair.
The band.
Yeah, the band, his guitars, and
Old Blue, and it was Jimmy Spirits,
right?
Dick Glass. All these people had.
I have his album. I sang on his album. I still have it at home.
Yeah, all these people had record deals. Stephen Ambrose had a record deal called Gypsy Moth.
That's right, Gypsy Moth.
And it was on Andy Williams' record label.
Right.
You know,
and the first album, Andy Williams'
record label. Yeah. Every Friday night. Was it every Friday night?
I remember Bobby Shoot.
Saturday night. Poetry by Candlelight with musicians and top musicians and stuff.
I think it was Monday night when we had a 28-piece band because of Bobby Shoe, a jazz up on the stage in 8th Street. Yeah. Oh, wild times.
It was a wild times. And the 8th Street was such a weird place, which I've done a video on if anybody wants to see it, showing how funky an area it is.
Yeah.
But remember the Mirror Man?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He was Hungarian. He was
a motorcycle.
No, not the motorcycle first. We'd have the staff muster in the front of the place every morning. It was right on the street.
Oh, yeah.
And half the time, the Mirror Man, who was Czechoslovakian, but it took us a while to find that out, would come, maybe he's Hungarian, would come walking down the street, and he had on a Rocky Squirrel helmet, didn't he? And a suit. So he's this freaky dude. And he'd be cussing at himself in this mirror. And he'd walk by, And so we're standing out there one morning doing our regular thing, and we hear brr, 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 and we look over there, and a light has changed, and waiting at the light on a motorcycle is the Mirror Man.
Talking into the mirror?
No, just right on, and we're like, damn, he's got a motorcycle, and he's cured. And we're all just like looking at him, and there's like 30 people looking at him. And then he looks at the side mirror of his motorcycle and goes, he
would lean over to his little light mirror right there and yell at him.
Yeah. He went into Denny's and he would order through the mirror. The waitresses knew that he was going to talk into the mirror and say what he wanted. And my favorite story on Denny's, which I've told before, but you might have missed it if you're new here, is I'm new to Scientology. I'm a hippie at the time, and they were really big on past lives and all this stuff. And so I sit down with this one guy, and he says, I had a really great session. And I said, really, what happened? And he said, I realized I'm Julius Caesar. And I was like, wow, I'm sitting with Julius Caesar. I was like really impressed, right? And so then I talked to him for a little bit, and I said, okay, well, it was really nice meeting you. I'm going to go talk to some other people. And I sit down, and part of Scientology is like you can never invalidate someone's case state, right?
Yeah. So
now I sit down with the next guy in another, thing at Denny's, and he goes, I had a really great session. And I said, really, what happened? And he said, I realized I'm Julius Caesar. Yeah. And I had this Homer Simpson, like, you're full of shit. I just met you, Julius Caesar. But you can't say that. Remember that?
Here's a good one. We had the orders of the day that was the little staff. Here's what's going on. Mimeograph sheet.
Right. Every day.
It came out every day. Right. So one day, Audrey Fisher.
Right.
Yeah.
Who was an auditor. Mm-hmm. She publishes in the orders of the day. She had a great session, and our Audrey's this good-looking little brunette chick.
Mary John, yeah.
Mary John. And she publishes in the orders of the day that I had such a great session, I realized I was Harry Houdini in another life. And everybody's like, whoa, it's Harry Houdini.
Whoa.
He came back from the dead. And then she gets busted for talking about her case.
Right.
And printing it in the thing.
Right.
So that stuff was going on all the time.
But it was, at the time, we were sort of like, wow, here's Harry Houdini.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, I remember bringing it up. Someone brought it up to Yvonne at a staff meeting, like, I thought you're not allowed to talk about your case. And Yvonne said something like, well, darling, the case is about the reason, what was it? Your reason and contemplation and your case about yourself. Right. But when people express their beautiful understanding of who you were, That's not Case, because Case is downtown at 2.0
Yeah, right.
So then it was okay to start talking about
that was the thing. Yvonne always had that where it was like she could work it around. Right?
Yeah.
Stuff, man. There was, whenever I got there, the Celebrity Center, there were 3 people going around saying they were Mark Twain.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there were people who were saying they were Jesus.
Right.
There's
Cleopatra.
Women. I was running the snack bar at Celebrity Center, you know, which went nuts in the little break times and stuff and everything. And there was this girl from Texas named Celeste, and Celeste came up to me one day when in between, so it was just me at the snack bar, and she told me about how she realized that in session, how I'd been Buffalo Bill Cody and been married to her. And I was kind of like, oh yeah. I don't remember that. You know? And she started crying. You know? And then she reported it, that I'd interpolated her and invalidated her, what she, you know, it was unbelievable. And I was just a lowly staff member, and she's paying the bucks.
Right.
So, you know,
it was her pickup line. That
Well, that happened to me as far as that kind of thing with Arthur Hubbard.
Oh, really? What did he do?
Because I have epilepsy, so I was sort of like, I'm not clear, blah, blah, blah. And I sat down with Quentin, and he said, well, tell me your story. And I said, well, I read 3 chapters in Chicago. I hitchhiked. I realized this is the guy I've been looking for. I hitchhiked from Chicago. And this is before Diana Clear or Past Lifetime things were okay.
Yeah,
it was
before that.
Before. And
that was with Quentin or Arthur?
No, Arthur.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm sitting with him, and I tell my story, and I say, I hitchhiked to Los Angeles. I became a Scientologist. And he goes, you're last lifetime clear. And it was just like, that's what it is. And it's just sort of like, that's how weird it is. Because you just come like, and everything clicked in. You know, it's like the ultimate in delusion, right? When you're just like, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, I was with LRH. And,
yeah.
Then they invalidated it years later on 7. No, that wasn't when you went clear. When did you go clear? Well, maybe this. No, that isn't it. Well, what about this? No, that isn't it. End of session. Awful. Awful. That's Black Dynamics.
Yeah. Is that when they were trying to get you? They were doing it like that?
I guess. I don't know. They did a lot of shit with the 7s when we were on. It was awful. It was really,
you know what the difference was back then, I think? Everybody wasn't going, the organization was not going for the money.
Right.
Wasn't really cranking for the money.
Yeah.
When the 70s hit, particularly the middle 70s, they started cranking for the
3X year thing. Remember that? Yeah. That was it.
And remember there was a point where Hubbard was having the costs go up 10% a month.
Right.
Oh, right.
You know, so it means it's 120% in a year. You know? So to get people to rush in there and pay, and that's when it wasn't so much fun anymore.
No,
that's
when
it started. It became all about money, which is all it's about now. Period. Money. Period.
And here we are, many years later. We're all out, and we're having a good time.
Yeah.
And we're doing good.
Like we used
to. So I just wanted to share that with you, with these guys. We wanted to. We can't talk too much longer, or else YouTube will cut us off. So peace be with you. There you go. Do you want to say anything else?
Oh, many things, words. But there's no much time left.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tori.
Thank you. All right, peace out, guys. Have a good weekend. Safe.